The Galactic Council chamber was never silent. It was a center of power for 1,000 star systems, a vast circular hall floating in open space, wrapped in crystal walls and golden light. Delegates from hundreds of species filled the rising seats. Some were tall and thin. Others were massive and armored. Many were nothing like each other at all. Yet today, they all watched the same thing. A massive hologram hovered in the center of the chamber. It showed a battlefield in deep space. Human ships, dark block-shaped, rough in design, moved slowly across the stars. The weapons they fired were simple. Railguns. Long metal barrels hurled solid slugs at extreme speed. No glowing beams. No elegant energy arcs. Just raw force. Laughter spread through the chamber. Several council members made open gestures of amusement. One reptilian delegate leaned back in his seat, his scaled jaw opening wide in mockery. "Railguns," he said loudly. "Those belong in museums." Others nodded in agreement. Railguns were old technology. Ancient, even. Every spacefaring civilization had used them once and abandoned them. They were inefficient, heavy, crude. Energy weapons were faster, cleaner, smarter. The hologram showed human railgun rounds slamming into alien shields. Some shots bounced off. Others cracked shields slowly, painfully. To the council, it looked weak. A senior strategist from the Valari Dominion spoke next, his voice calm and confident. "Humans rely on force instead of refinement," he said. "They build weapons the way they build their culture. Loud, wasteful, direct." More laughter followed. The hologram zoomed out, showing the larger battle. The alien fleet was larger, brighter, more advanced. Sleek ships glided through space with glowing shields and perfect formations. The outcome seemed clear. A council announcer raised a hand, calling for order. "Let the record show," he said, "that humanity has reached its technological ceiling." Several delegates marked the moment into official logs. The humans, according to the council, were finished. Then something strange happened. On the hologram, the human fleet stopped moving forward. For a brief moment, no one noticed. Then a small insect-like species delegate leaned forward and tilted its head. "Why have the human ships halted?" it asked. The hologram zoomed in. The human ships were still there, but their engine signatures were fading. Not damaged, fading. A sensor officer stepped closer to the control platform, tapping rapidly. "That is not retreat behavior," the officer said slowly. A few council members frowned. Before anyone could respond, the hologram flickered. And then the human ships vanished. Every single one. Gone. No explosion. No debris. No energy spike. Just empty space. The chamber fell silent. Not the usual political silence, filled with whispers and side conversations. This was different. This was the kind of silence that came from confusion. A council commander stood up sharply. "Where did they go?" he demanded. Sensor data streamed across the hologram. Lines of numbers. Scanning arcs. Wide-range sweeps. Nothing. No warp signatures detected, the sensor officer said. No hyperspace traces. No cloaking field residue. A low murmur spread across the chamber, uneasy now. "They must have retreated earlier," someone suggested. But the sensor officer shook their head. No, their movement stopped exactly 1 second before disappearance. That answer only made things worse. The hologram zoomed out again, showing the empty battlefield. Alien ships drifted forward cautiously, weapons still charged. Then, one alien cruiser exploded. It did not happen from the front. The explosion tore through its rear hull, cutting the ship in half. The chamber erupted in noise. What fired that? From where? Show the angle. The hologram replayed the moment in slow motion. There was no visible attacker, no incoming projectile, just destruction. Another ship vanished in a flash of light, its command core crushed as if struck by something that appeared and disappeared in the same heartbeat. Panic spread through the council. "Impossible," a high-ranking delegate said. "Nothing can attack without being seen." But the hologram showed it clearly. Alien ships were being destroyed. By nothing. A young analyst spoke hesitantly, voice shaking. Counselors, what if the railguns were a distraction? That idea was met with anger. Ridiculous! The Valari strategist snapped. Humans lack the science for advanced space manipulation. Yet even as he spoke, another alien vessel went dark. Then another. The sensor officer turned pale. I am detecting brief spatial distortions, they said, microseconds long, appearing and vanishing. A senior council member slowly stood. Say that again, he said quietly. The officer swallowed. Something is entering space and leaving it instantly. No one laughed now. The hologram froze, zoomed in on a single frame. For less than a blink of time, a human ship appeared behind an alien battleship. So close their hulls almost touched. Then the frame advanced. The alien ship was gone. The human ship was gone too. The chamber felt suddenly very small. A realization began to spread, slow and heavy. The railguns had never been the point. They were simple, honest, loud. They were meant to be seen. A council elder, one of the oldest beings present, spoke with a voice that carried weight. Humans do not show their true weapon first. The elder said, they show what they want you to underestimate. The hologram dimmed. Across the chamber, official records updated themselves silently. Confidence ratings dropped. Threat levels changed color. For the first time in centuries, the Galactic Council did not understand what was facing. Far beyond the chamber, in the cold darkness of space, human ships waited. Unseen, unmapped, untouched. They were no longer firing railguns. They were deciding when to arrive. And for the first time, the Galactic Council felt something it had not felt in a very long time. Fear. That was the moment they realized. Railguns were never the real threat. Asterisk, asterisk. The Galactic Council did not panic. Not openly. That was not how power survived for thousands of years. Panic was for small nations and dying empires. The Council had ruled the galaxy for longer than most species could remember. One strange battle did not change that. At least, that was what they told themselves. Inside the great chamber, the lights brightened again. The hologram of the battlefield faded, replaced by Comstar maps and official symbols. Council guards returned to their posts. Delegates adjusted their posture. Order was restored. On the surface, the high speaker of the council rose from his elevated platform. His species was tall and pale, with long limbs and calm eyes. His voice carried authority shaped by centuries of obedience. Let's be clear, he said. Humanity has displayed a clever tactic. Nothing more. Several delegates nodded quickly, relieved to hear certainty again. Short-range spatial distortion is not true teleportation. The high speaker continued. It is unstable, dangerous, inefficient. He paused, letting the words sink in. Civilizations that rely on such methods destroy themselves. The chamber relaxed slightly. A military commander from the Tarsuan clan stood next. His armor clicked softly as he moved. Our fleets still outnumber humanity 5-1, he said. Their industry cannot replace losses fast enough. Even if they possess limited jump tricks, they cannot win a war scale. That sounded logical. Logic was comfortable. Another delegate spoke, a being of pure light, contained within a crystal frame. Humans are emotional, it said. They act on fear and pride. Their sudden attack proves instability, not superiority. Soft approval sounds followed. The narrative was forming. Humans were dangerous, but only because they were reckless. That story fit the council's worldview. A junior analyst tried to speak. Honored counselors, she said carefully. The human fleet movement suggests long-term planning, not panic. The high speaker did not even look at her. Your concern is noted, he said flatly. Return to your station. She did. The council moved on. They discussed sanctions, trade limits, control border pressure. Nothing extreme. Humanity would be contained, studied, slowly weakened. Then came the human delegation. They had waited quietly at the far edge of the chamber the entire time. Only 3 humans stood there. They wore simple dark uniforms. No decorations. No visible weapons. Their faces were calm, almost blank. When the council finally acknowledged them, the High Speaker spoke with polite superiority. Human representatives, he said, your recent actions have been reviewed. The humans said nothing. You have demonstrated unexpected military behavior, the speaker continued. However, the council has concluded that humanity remains a developing power. A pause. Your request for elevated status is denied. That sentence echoed through the chamber. Denied. Some delegates smiled. Others watched the humans closely, hoping for anger, protest, fear. None came. The lead human stepped forward. He was older, with gray hair and tired eyes. When he spoke, his voice was quiet, steady, and respectful. Understood, he said. Only one word. No threats. No defense. No begging. He gave a small nod to the council and turned away. The human delegation left the chamber without another sound. That should have been comforting. Instead, it left a strange feeling behind. See, a counselor said. They accept reality. Wise of them, another replied. They know when they are outmatched. The High Speaker watched the empty doorway for a moment longer than necessary. Then he dismissed the thought. Outside the chamber, in secure analysis halls, data flowed in. Human industry numbers, population figures, shipyard output, resource consumption. Everything pointed to limitation. Humans were fast learners. Yes, aggressive, creative, but still small. One analyst stared at a projection of human ship design history. Railguns, armor, redundant systems, overlapping backups. They build like they expect failure, he muttered. His colleague shrugged. All species expect failure. No, the analyst said slowly. They expect survival. The comment was ignored. Hours later, the council issued an official declaration to the galaxy. Humanity was classified as a controlled regional power. Not a peer, not a threat, not a future leader. The declaration spread across thousands of systems. Most civilizations accepted it without question. Why wouldn't they? The council had never been wrong before. But in hidden human shipyards, far from council censors, that declaration was already being studied, not with anger, with calculation. On a distant human command station, officers watched the council broadcast in silence. No one spoke until it ended. A young captain finally asked, "Should we respond?" An older admiral shook his head. "No," he said. "They've already chosen." "Chosen what?" the captain asked. The admiral looked at a tactical display showing dozens of empty star systems. "Where we arrive next," he said. Back in the Galactic Council chamber, the High Speaker ended the session. "Humanity will learn," he said confidently, "as all young species do." The chamber emptied, but not everyone felt satisfied. The same junior analyst from earlier stood alone at her console, reviewing the battle again. Frame by frame, she slowed the moment the human ships vanished, then slowed it more. Her breath caught. "There," she whispered. For a fraction of a second, the human ships did not disappear. They shifted, space folded, not jumped, not warped, folded. She saved the data under restricted access. Then she looked up at the empty chamber and wondered if anyone would listen before the council's pride demanded a price. Humans did not build railguns because they were advanced. They built them because they were honest. Long before humanity ever met the Galactic Council, Earth had already been a battlefield. Not one war, but thousands. Nations rose and fell. Weapons changed. Technology advanced. But one lesson stayed the same. Complex things fail first. Human history was filled with broken promises of perfect weapons. Systems that looked powerful on paper failed in real battle. Energy shields collapsed. Smart weapons were hacked. Elegant machines stopped working when conditions were not perfect. So humans learned to distrust beauty in war. They trusted force. They trusted mass. They trusted things that worked even when everything else failed. Railguns were simple. 2 rails, a solid projectile, extreme speed, no guidance systems to jam, no energy beam to distort. no signal to block. If the railgun fired, something would be hit. That thinking came from centuries of survival. On Earth, humans had fought wars in deserts, oceans, frozen lands, and space. They had learned that enemies always found ways to interfere with advanced systems. So humans designed weapons that did not care. A railgun did not ask permission from physics. It obeyed it. When humans first reached space, they studied alien technology carefully. Energy weapons were elegant. Shields were strong. Computers controlled everything. And humans immediately saw the weakness. Too many systems talking to each other. Too many dependencies. Too much trust in perfection. A human engineer once said, "If it needs 10 things to work, it will fail when you need it most." So humans chose railguns. The Galactic Council saw this choice as proof of inferiority. Humans saw it as discipline. In human shipyards, railguns were built with thick metal, oversized components, and manual overrides. If power failed, backup systems took over. If backups failed, crew members could still fire the weapon by hand. Alien engineers laughed at that idea. Why would anyone design a space weapon that required physical control? Humans knew why. Because in war, someone always cuts the power. The first human railgun ships were ugly by alien standards. Boxy hulls, heavy armor, minimal energy signatures. Nothing elegant, but they survived. Human commanders trained crews to expect loss. Loss of sensors, loss of communication, loss of light. They trained in silence, in darkness, in confusion. Alien fleets trained for coordination and precision. Humans trained for chaos. That difference shaped everything. When the Galactic Council encountered human railguns for the first time, they saw only the surface. Slow firing rate, heavy recoil, shorter effective range, and energy beams. They did not see what humans saw. Reliability. Railgun slugs could not be hacked. They could not be fooled by decoys. They did not lose strength over distance like energy beams. And when they hit with certainty. Human tacticians did not aim to overwhelm shields instantly. They aimed to stress them, crack them, force them to adapt. Every railgun strike was a question. How long can you hold? Alien shields answered beautifully at first. Then they failed suddenly. That was another human lesson. Things do not break slowly. They break all at once. Still, railguns were never meant to win wars alone. Humans knew this. Railguns were the foundation, the base, the visible part. They were the tool humanity wanted the galaxy to focus on. While alien analysts studied railgun trajectories and armor penetration, humans studied something else. Space itself. Human scientists had always been obsessed with limits. Gravity, time, distance, death. Teleportation had been considered impossible for most species. Too unstable. Too dangerous, too unpredictable. Humans saw those risks differently. They asked a different question. Can it be controlled long enough? Not safely, not comfortably, just long enough. Human experiments in spatial folding killed people. Ships were lost. Crews vanished. Data came back incomplete or wrong. The council would have stopped. Humans continued, because humans were used to paying a price. On Earth, progress had always demanded sacrifice. Medicine, flight, nuclear power, all had taken lives before becoming stable. Teleportation was no different. Railguns protected the time needed to develop it. They kept enemies at distance. They kept attention focused. They bought time. A human admiral once explained it simply to a room of young officers. Railguns are our shield, he said. Not because they stop enemies, but because they keep them looking the wrong way. The officers understood. By the time the Galactic Council laughed at human railguns, the real work was already done. Human ships were being redesigned around a new idea. Not speed, not firepower, position. If a ship could appear anywhere for a moment, just a moment, it did not need stronger weapons. It only needed to arrive at the right place. Railguns fit that idea perfectly. Appear, fire, disappear. No warning, no pursuit, no pattern. Humans did not care about honor in battle. They cared about results. That philosophy confused the Council. Alien warfare valued symmetry, front lines, escalation, rules. Human warfare valued endings. So when the Council mocked railguns, humans did not correct them. They encouraged the misunderstanding. They let the galaxy believe humans were behind. Because humans knew something the galaxy had forgotten. The most dangerous weapon is the one your enemy thinks they understand. And railguns were easy to understand. Teleportation was not. By the time the Council began to suspect the truth, humanity was already done preparing. Railguns had served their purpose. They had taught the galaxy to underestimate humans. And that mistake would soon cost the Council everything. The first real battle between humanity and the Galactic Council did not begin with a declaration of war. It began with confidence. A Council fleet entered the Karen border system, a quiet region near human-controlled space. The system had little value, no rare resources, no major stations. It was chosen for one reason only, to send a message. The fleet was massive, dozens of advanced cruisers, shielded carriers, support ships glowing with energy fields. Their formation was perfect, clean, and calm. From the lead command ship, Admiral Zeltor watched the stars with relaxed focus. Humans will respond, he said. They always do. His officers agreed. Humans were emotional, predictable. If threatened, they would rush forward. Sensors soon confirmed it. Human ships detected, an officer announced, approaching from the inner system. The holographic display showed them clearly. Blocky ships, heavy armor, railgun ports visible along their hulls. Zeltor felt a small sense of satisfaction. So, he said, they still rely on those weapons. The alien fleet did not rush. They advanced slowly, shields fully charged, weapons ready but not firing. This was not a battle yet. It was a demonstration. The first railgun shot came without warning. A solid slug crossed space and struck the outer shield of a Council cruiser. The shield flared, rippled, and held. Minimal impact, an officer reported. Zeltor nodded. As expected, more railgun fire followed. Steady, measured. Each shot struck shields, forcing them to absorb energy and adjust. The Council fleet returned fire. Energy beams sliced through space, bright and beautiful. Several human ships were hit. Their armor burned. One ship lost an engine and drifted. Cheers echoed across Council command channels. Human ships lack mobility, Zeltor said. Press forward. The Council fleet tightened formation and advanced. Then the human ships stopped firing. Zeltor frowned. Why have they ceased fire? He asked. Before the officer could answer, the human fleet began to pull back. They're retreating, someone said. Zeltor smiled. Predictable, he replied. Maintain pressure. The Council fleet surged forward. That was when the first ship vanished. Not destroyed. Vanished. A destroyer on the left flank disappeared from sensors entirely. What happened to Vessel 9? An officer asked. No explosion. No debris. Just empty space. Before Zeltor could respond, a second ship vanished. Then a third. Alarm signals filled the bridge. Spatial distortion detected, an officer shouted. Zeltor stood. Explain. I can't, the officer said. They are not jumping. They are not cloaking. The fleet's formation began to loosen as ships adjusted position, trying to maintain sensor coverage. Then a human ship appeared. It appeared less than 1 kilometer behind a Council cruiser. For a fraction of a second, it was visible. Its railguns fired. At point-blank range. The Council cruiser's rear armor collapsed instantly. The railgun slug tore through its core. The ship split apart in silence. The human ship vanished again. Zeltor's confidence cracked. Track them, he ordered. We can't, an officer replied. They're not staying. Human ships appeared across the battlefield. Always behind. Always close. Always lethal. They fired once. Sometimes twice. Then disappeared. Council shields were useless at that range. They were designed for a forward defense. Rear coverage was weaker, optimized for speed and efficiency. Humans had studied that. Council ships began to panic. Formations broke. Some ships fired blindly into empty space. It did not help. A carrier lost its command deck. A cruiser vanished without warning. A support ship exploded as a human vessel appeared inside its defensive perimeter. Zeltor felt something he had never felt before. Loss of control. "Order a full retreat," he commanded. The fleet tried, but retreat required direction, and direction required knowing where the enemy was. Human ships controlled position now. Every attempt to regroup was punished. Human railguns fired into engines, into power cores, into command sections. Not random destruction. Precise. Calculated. Within minutes. The battlefield belonged to humanity. Then, just as suddenly as it began, it ended. Human ships stopped appearing. Council sensors detected nothing. No pursuit. No final strike. Only silence. Zeltor stared at the damage reports. Over 40% of his fleet was gone. Not damaged. Gone. He opened a secure channel to the Council. "This is Admiral Zeltor," he said slowly. "The enemy is not what we believed." The reply was tense. "Clarify." Zeltor took a breath. "They control position," he said. "Not speed, not firepower. Position." There was a pause. "Explain their weakness," the Council demanded. Zeltor hesitated. "I don't know it yet," he admitted. That admission alone was historic. The Council ended the call shortly after. Across the galaxy, battle footage spread. Not the full truth, only fragments. Enough to unsettle. Human ships appearing from nowhere. Railguns firing at impossible angles. Council fleets retreating. For the first time, smaller civilizations began to question the old order. Back on a distant human command ship, officers watched the same footage. No cheering, no celebration, only focus. A young officer asked, "Did we win?" The commanding admiral shook his head. "No," he said. "We proved a point." "What point?" the officer asked. The admiral looked at the stars. "That the Council has never fought an enemy willing to vanish," he replied. The human fleet regrouped in silence. The first shock had been delivered. The Council would respond. Humans were counting on it, because the next lesson would be even harder. The Galactic Council did not accept defeat. The battle at the Karen border system was officially labeled a strategic anomaly. The term was careful, cold, and dishonest. It suggested a mistake, not a failure. But inside Council command halls, fear had begun to grow. Fleet losses were real. Commanders were shaken. Sensor data refused to make sense. Every explanation ended with the same uncomfortable truth. Human ships did not move like anything the Council understood. Still, pride demanded action. Within days, the Council approved a response fleet larger than any before. Not a demonstration. Not a warning. A correction. Hundreds of ships gathered from multiple species. Carriers, battleships, sensor platforms, and long-range artillery vessels filled space with glowing shields and tight formations. The goal was simple. Find the humans. Force a battle. Destroy them completely. The fleet advanced toward human space with full sensor coverage, overlapping detection fields, and constant communication. Nothing would slip through this time. Or so they believed. In the central command ship, High Marshal Threx stood watching the tactical display. He had been chosen because he did not doubt. "We will not chase ghosts," he said. "We will bring enough force that position does not matter." The fleet crossed into the outer human control systems. Nothing happened. No railgun fire. No human patrols. No warnings. Space was quiet. Unnaturally quiet. "Humans are retreating," one officer suggested. "They are hiding," another said. Threx remained silent. Hours passed. Then days. The fleet moved deeper. Still nothing. Human colonies were intact, but abandoned. Stations powered down. Trade lanes empty. It was as if humanity had simply left. "That is impossible," Threx said at last. "They cannot move entire populations." An officer checked long-range scans. No civilian traffic detected. No military signals. The fleet slowed. Unease spread through command channels. Then a carrier at the rear of the formation vanished. No warning. No explosion. Gone. Contact lost with carrier Delta 7. An officer reported. Threx turned sharply. Explain. There was no attack signature. Before anyone could respond, another ship vanished. Then another. Panic began to creep into disciplined voices. Pull the fleet into defensive formation. Threx ordered. Ships attempted to comply. They did not have time. Human ships appeared. Not ahead. Not behind. Inside. They emerged between Council vessels. Close enough to touch hulls. Railguns fired at point-blank range. Armor crumpled. Shields collapsed instantly. Command decks were torn open. Human ships vanished before return fire could land. Every appearance lasted seconds. Every disappearance left destruction behind. Council sensors screamed with useless data. Track the distortion. It's too fast. They're everywhere. They were not everywhere. They were exactly where the Council did not expect. Threx felt the fleet breaking. Retreat, he shouted. But retreat meant movement. And movement required knowing where not to go. Human ships controlled that now. They struck engines, navigation cores, communication arrays. Fleet coordination collapsed. Ships began to flee in different directions, breaking formation completely. That was when humans stopped attacking. They vanished again, just like before. Silence returned. Broken ships drifted through space. Emergency beacons blinked. No pursuit. No final blow. Threx stared at the wreckage. They're letting us go, an officer whispered. Threx understood. They want us to talk, he said. Across the galaxy, reports flooded in. Entire fleets damaged without clear battles. Human systems empty. No supply lines to cut. No targets to strike. Civilizations watching from the sidelines began to ask questions. Where were the humans? Why were they not advancing? Why were they not claiming territory? In the council chamber, arguments erupted. They are cowards, one delegate said. They flee when confronted. No, another replied. They are waiting. Fear crept into the debate. If they can appear anywhere, a third said quietly. Then nowhere is safe. That thought spread quickly. Trade slowed. Borders tightened. Minor powers began reinforcing their own defenses. Humanity had not conquered anything. Yet the galaxy was changing around them. On a hidden human command station, far from known star lanes, leaders watched council fleet movements with calm focus. A young strategist asked, "Should we press the advantage?" A senior commander shook his head. "No," she said. "Not yet." "Why?" "Because fear needs space to grow," the commander replied. Human ships remained unseen. They did not patrol. They did not announce presence. They allowed imagination to do the work. In council space, commanders began seeing threats everywhere. Sensor ghosts, false readings, phantom distortions. Some fleets fired on empty space. Others refused to move at all. The council had lost something vital. Certainty. And certainty, once lost, was difficult to recover. The humans had disappeared again. But this time it was worse. This time, everyone knew they were still there, watching, waiting, choosing. For a long time, the Galactic Council believed teleportation was impossible, not difficult, not dangerous, impossible. Every advanced civilization had studied space manipulation. Warp drives bent space gently. Jump gates punched controlled holes through it. Hyperspace allowed ships to slide around distance. But teleportation, true instant movement from one point to another, always ended the same way. Ships tore apart. Crews vanished. Space behaved badly. The council scientists had declared a dead path long ago. Humans disagreed. They did not disagree loudly. They did not announce new theories or demand attention. They simply kept working. On hidden research stations, far from trade lanes and council sensors, human scientists tested ideas others had abandoned. They did not seek perfection. They sought function. The first experiments were disasters. Unmanned probes folded space incorrectly and returned inside out. Some never returned at all. Data streams arrived broken, incomplete, sometimes arriving before they were sent. Human scientists recorded everything. They did not stop. Then came manned tests. Volunteers stepped forward knowing the risks. Some returned sick. Some returned changed. Some did not return. Human history was full of dangerous first steps. This one was no different. A senior scientist explained it once. Simply, teleportation is not movement, she said. It is permission. You tell space where you are allowed to exist next. That idea frightened many. Humans continued anyway. They learned the limits quickly. Long-range teleportation was unstable. Precise teleportation was unreliable. Civilian use was impossible. But battlefield teleportation? That was different. Short range, brief duration, heavy energy cost, deadly mistakes, but manageable ones. Humans accepted that ships might be lost. The Council would never accept such losses. That was the difference. Human teleportation drives were not elegant machines. They were reinforced cages of energy layered with redundant systems and violent stabilizers. They stressed hulls. They injured crews. But they worked. Not always. Just enough. Human tacticians built entire doctrines around that truth. Teleportation was not used to travel. It was used to arrive, appear behind an enemy, strike once, leave, no prolonged presence, no sustained exposure. That was how humans survived their own technology. The Council never saw this coming. Their war doctrines assumed presence before attack. Sensors detected movement. Time existed to react. Human teleportation erased that time. In the Council Secure Science Division, panic had finally replaced denial. A group of senior scientists studied captured battle data from the Karen system. They replayed distortion signatures again and again. This is not jump technology, one said quietly. It violates containment rules, another replied. A third leaned back slowly. It violates our assumptions. That admission was dangerous. The high speaker demanded answers. How advanced is this technology, he asked. A scientist hesitated. It is not advanced, she said carefully. It is brutal. What does that mean? The speaker demanded. It means, she continued, they do not care if it hurts them. Silence followed. The Council finally understood the real danger. Teleportation was not humanity's strength. Human willingness to use it was. In a separate chamber, military planners gathered. They attempted to redesign fleet formations. Rear defenses were strengthened. Ships spread farther apart. It did not help. Human ships adapted faster. Teleportation allowed humans to ignore formations entirely. They did not fight fleets. They fought moments. One moment mattered more than all others, the moment of arrival. A council general slammed a clawed hand against the table. How do we defend against something that is not there until it kills us? No one answered, because the truth was simple. You couldn't, not with council thinking. Human commanders understood something the council had forgotten. War was not about balance. It was about breaking balance. On a hidden human command ship, Admiral Hayes watched the council's confusion spread across intercepted communications. They're finally asking the right questions, an officer said. Hayes nodded. They're too late, he replied. Are we pushing too hard? The officer asked. No, Hayes said. We're pushing exactly hard enough. Human teleportation fleets remained unseen. They did not strike constantly. They chose targets carefully. Supply ships, command vessels, sensor platforms, never civilians, never random destruction. The message was clear. Humans were not monsters. They were professionals. That frightened the galaxy more than rage ever could. Smaller civilizations began quietly changing policy. Trade with the council slowed. Neutral systems closed borders. Whispers spread. If humans can appear anywhere, many asked, who protects us from the council? The balance of power shifted without a single declaration. Back in the Galactic Council chamber, the high speaker stood before empty seats. Some delegates had stopped attending sessions in person. Fear had changed behavior. We must restrict information, the speaker said. Prevent panic. But panic was already free. The secret of teleportation could not be hidden. It was written in wreckage. It was written in silence. And most of all, it was written in the Council's loss of control. Humans had not shattered fleets. They had shattered certainty. And that was only the beginning. The Galactic Council had always ruled through order. Order of fleets. Order of trade. Order of belief. That order was breaking. It did not collapse in one moment. It cracked slowly, quietly, in ways that frightened the Council more than open rebellion ever could. Emergency sessions were called daily now, sometimes hourly. Delegates argued openly, no longer hiding fear behind polite words. "This is a military failure," one species leader said. "Our fleets are outdated." "This is a political failure," another snapped. "You pushed humanity too far." A third slammed a tentacle against the floor. "No," he shouted. "This is a human failure. They are destabilizing the galaxy." The High Speaker tried to restore calm, but his voice carried less weight than before. "Order," he demanded. "We will speak one at a time." No one listened. Reports continued to arrive during the arguments. Another supply convoy vanished. Another command ship disabled. Another fleet refused orders, claiming unsafe conditions. Human ships did not attack constantly. They attacked selectively. That made it worse. Council admirals could not predict where the next strike would come. They could not explain why some fleets were spared while others were torn apart. Fear crept into command structures. Junior officers began hesitating. Senior commanders delayed decisions. Some refused to move without overwhelming force. An overwhelming force no longer meant safety. Inside Council intelligence divisions, analysts worked without rest. Sleep cycles were ignored. Errors increased. Patterns were searched for. None were found. Human attacks had no clear rhythm, no predictable logic, no obvious strategy. But that was not true. There was a strategy. The Council just could not see it. Human strikes always remove control first. Communication hubs, fleet coordinators, political messengers. Without those, Council power fractured naturally. In one distant system, a Council governor refused to follow central orders. He closed borders and declared neutrality. The Council issued threats. The governor did not respond. Others followed. Small powers stopped sending tribute. Trade partners delayed shipments. Member worlds began making their own deals with humans, quietly. The Council had never feared unity breaking before. Now it was happening everywhere. Inside the main chamber, the High Speaker addressed the remaining delegates. "We must restore authority," he said. "We must show strength." "How?" someone shouted. "They appear inside our defenses." "We cannot protect even ourselves," another said bitterly. A military delegate stood, his voice heavy. "Our fleets are afraid," he admitted. "They are trained to fight enemies they can see." That truth echoed uncomfortably. Council power was built on visible dominance. Human power was invisible. That difference mattered. The High Speaker ordered a full mobilization of reserves. Ancient defense platforms were activated. Planetary shields were reinforced. It looked impressive. It did nothing. Human ships did not attack planets. They attacked decision-makers. That choice confused and terrified the Council. If they wanted conquest, they would strike our worlds, one delegate said. "They want obedience," another replied. "No," a quiet voice said from the back of the chamber. It was a junior analyst, the one few had listened to before. "They want change," she said. All eyes turned toward her. She continued carefully. "They are not removing us because we rule. They are removing us because we refuse to adapt." The chamber fell silent. That idea was dangerous. Adaptation meant admitting failure. And the Council had never done that. Behind closed doors, Council leaders began blaming each other. Accusations replaced strategy. Old alliances weakened. Some species accused others of leaking information to humans. Some accused the High Speaker of arrogance. Some quietly prepared escape plans. For the first time in history, the Galactic Council feared itself. Meanwhile, humanity remained silent. No broadcasts, no speeches, no demands. That silence carried more weight than threats. Across human space, fleets remained hidden. Commanders followed strict rules. Strike only when needed. Never overextend. Never explain. Human leaders understood something the Council did not. Power speaks loudest when it does not talk. On a hidden human station, Admiral Hayes met with civilian leaders via secure channel. The Council is collapsing, one leader said. Should we intervene politically? Hayes shook his head. No, he replied. Let them fall on their own. What if they lash out? Another asked. They will, Hayes said, and that will finish it. The Council did lash out. In a desperate move, they authorized a total blockade of human space. Trade routes were cut. Navigation warnings spread. The announcement was loud, aggressive, final. It was meant to show control. It showed fear. Human trade did not stop. Human fleets did not appear. Instead, Council systems began experiencing shortages, not because humans attacked supply lines, but because traders refused to fly near Council space anymore. No one wanted to be near a battlefield that could exist anywhere. The Council had become dangerous to be around. That realization hurt more than any loss of ships. In the great chamber, the High Speaker stared at an empty seat where a powerful delegate once sat. He whispered to himself, "We rule for thousands of cycles." A quiet voice answered from the shadows. "You rule because no one challenged you." The speaker turned sharply. The human envoy stood there, alone. No guards, no weapons, just calm eyes. "We are not here to rule," the envoy said. "We are here to end something." The speaker swallowed. "What?" he asked. The envoy stepped forward. "Your certainty." The message did not arrive with fanfare. There were no alarms, no dramatic announcements, no threats. It appeared quietly on communication networks across the galaxy, Council channels, civilian news feeds, trade station displays, military command systems. One signal, one source. Humanity. The Galactic Council froze all other broadcasts instantly. Analysts rushed to isolate the transmission. Military leaders demanded to know if it was a trick. It was not. The message was clean, simple, unencrypted. It was meant to be heard. In the great council chamber, the High Speaker ordered the message displayed. The hologram activated. A single human stood in view. Not a soldier, not a politician. An older man, wearing plain clothes, seated at a simple desk. No flags, no symbols, no background music. He looked directly into the camera. His voice was calm. "We did not plan to speak to the galaxy like this," he began. "But silence has done enough." The chamber remained quiet. "We were told many times that we were behind." The man continued, "that our weapons were crude, that our thinking was outdated." Several council delegates shifted uncomfortably. "You laughed when you saw our railguns," he said. "You believed you understood us." The man paused. "You did not." Across thousands of systems, beings leaned closer to their screens. "We did not build railguns because we lacked imagination," the man said. "We built them because they always work." The statement was simple. It carried weight. "For a long time," he continued, "you ruled the galaxy because no one challenged your assumptions." The camera did not move. "We challenged them." The man folded his hands. "We did not come to conquer," he said. "If we wanted that, you would already know." That line sent a wave of unease through the council. "We came to survive," the man said, "and to make sure no one could decide our future for us again." The message shifted. Footage appeared. Human colonies, families, workers, children, old cities on Earth, ships under construction, scientists working in quiet rooms. "We are not perfect," the voice said. "We are not united. We fight each other often." A pause. "But when someone tries to decide our place in the universe for us, we respond." The hologram returned to the speaker's face. "You denied us because we did not fit your model of progress," he said. "You punished us for choosing reliability over elegance." The man leaned slightly forward. "You confused restraint with weakness." That line spread quickly across the galaxy. Social feeds lit up. Commentators fell silent. In the council chamber, no one spoke. "We did not hide our railguns," the man continued. "We showed them to you." Another pause. "You laughed." The silence grew heavier. "While you were laughing," the man said, "we were solving a different problem." The image shifted again. Not technical schematics. Not weapons. Maps. Star systems. Fleet movements. Trade routes. Positions. "We learned that distance protects those who believe in distance," the man said, "so we stopped respecting it." That was all he said about teleportation. No details. No explanations. He did not need to. "We are not here to replace the Galactic Council," the man said. "We are here to change what it means to have power." The message softened. "We will not attack your worlds," he said. "We will not destroy your cultures. We will not erase your history." Relief flickered across some faces. But the man added quietly, "We will no longer accept decisions made without us." The final words came slowly. "Respect is not given by technology," he said. "It is earned by how you treat those who have less than you." The man stood. "This is your moment to decide," he said. "Adapt or step aside." The screen went dark. The signal ended. No follow-up. No demands. Across the galaxy, reactions exploded. Some worlds celebrated. Some panicked. Some quietly changed alliances. The council sat frozen. The high speaker felt something cold settle inside him. The message had done what fleets could not. It had reframed the war. Humanity was not an invader. It was a mirror, and the council did not like what it saw. In human space, commanders watched the transmission end. No cheers. No applause. Just readiness. The message was not the end. It was an invitation. And everyone knew what would come next depended on the council's answer. The fall of the Galactic Council did not begin with fire. It began with silence. After the human message, council systems across the galaxy went quiet. Fleets stopped moving. Orders were delayed or questioned. Commanders waited for instructions that never came. The council tried to respond. Emergency meetings were called. Statements were drafted. Threats were prepared. None were sent. Every version sounded weak. The council had ruled through confidence. The human message had taken that away. Inside the great chamber, the high speaker stood before the remaining delegates. Many seats were empty now. Some species had withdrawn. Others attended through secure holograms, unwilling to appear in person. "We cannot allow this to stand," the high speaker said. His voice sounded tired. "What does this mean anymore?" a delegate asked. The speaker had no answer. Military leaders demanded action. Political leaders demanded caution. Economic leaders demanded stability. Nothing aligned. Then the human fleets appeared. Not at the borders. Not in contested systems. They appeared in the heart of council space. Above logistics hubs. Near command relays. Around communication nexuses. They did not fire. They did not broadcast. They simply existed. Council defenses activated automatically. Weapons charged. Shields flared. Human ships did nothing. They stayed just out of range. Watching. A council admiral whispered, "They're not attacking." Another replied, "They don't need to." Teleportation signatures appeared briefly across council territory. Human ships jumped in and out, never staying long enough to be targeted. Each appearance was a reminder, "We can be here any time." Council leaders panicked. "If they strike now," one said, "we lose everything." "They're waiting," another replied, "for us to make a mistake." The mistake came quickly. A hardline faction within the council ordered a preemptive strike on a suspected human staging system. The fleet jumped. It never arrived. Every ship vanished mid-jump. No wreckage. No survivors. The council never learned whether humans caused it or whether fear did. That uncertainty broke the last remaining confidence. Systems began declaring independence openly. Trade agreements were canceled. Defense pacts dissolved. The council issued commands. No one obeyed. In the great chamber, alarms began to sound. not from attack, but from loss of authority. Secure channels went offline. Member worlds revoked access rights. The council was still alive, but it was no longer in control. The High Speaker sat alone as delegates left one by one. Some did not even look back. A message arrived. Human origin. Private channel. The speaker hesitated, then accepted. The human envoy appeared on the screen. The same one who had stood calmly in the chamber before. This was not supposed to be violent, the speaker said bitterly. It isn't, the envoy replied. You dismantled us, the speaker said. No, the envoy said gently. You dismantled yourselves. The speaker closed his eyes. What do you want? He asked. The envoy answered without hesitation. A seat, he said. Not above you, not below you, beside you. The speaker laughed weakly. There is nothing left to sit beside, he said. The envoy nodded. Then build something new. Human ships began disabling Council defense platforms, not destroying them, shutting them down. Control systems were locked. Access codes changed. Weapons made inert. The message was clear. The war was over, not because humanity had won, but because the Council had lost. Across the galaxy, the old symbol of authority faded. Council insignias were removed. New regional alliances formed. Some included humans. Some did not. That was allowed. Humanity did not demand loyalty, only recognition. In the final council session ever recorded, the High Speaker spoke one last time. We believed power meant control, he said. We were wrong. No one argued. When the session ended, the chamber lights dimmed for the last time. Human ships withdrew quietly. They did not stay to rule. They had proven their point. The Galactic Council had fallen, not to superior firepower, but to an enemy who refused to play by its rules. And the galaxy would never forget that lesson. The galaxy did not celebrate the fall of the Galactic Council. There were no grand parades, no victory songs, no monuments raised in human cities. Instead, there was silence. A deep, careful silence filled the space once controlled by a single power. Systems that had relied on the Council for order now had to choose their own path. Some formed new alliances. Some isolated themselves. Some failed and disappeared quietly. Change was slow, and it was everywhere. Humanity did not rush to fill the empty throne. That surprised many. Council analysts, now working under new independent governments, expected humans to take control. They waited for demands. Taxes, military occupation. None came. Human fleets withdrew from former council space. Teleportation signatures faded. Railgun ships returned to patrol their own borders only. Humans went home. Across the galaxy, observers struggled to understand that choice. They could rule everything, one diplomat said. Yes, another replied, but they don't want to. That confused civilizations raised under council logic. For thousands of cycles, power meant dominance. Humans redefined it. On Earth, life continued. Cities rebuilt old structures and built new ones. Shipyards returned to civilian work. Scientists turned from weapons back to exploration. Teleportation technology was locked away under strict control. Not abandoned, but respected. Human leaders remembered the cost. In one quiet memorial hall, names were carved into black stone. Scientists, engineers, pilots, volunteers, people who never returned. Humanity did not forget what it took to reach that moment. Elsewhere in the galaxy, the story of humans spread, not as propaganda, as warning. Children of distant species learned about railguns in history lessons, not as weapons, but as symbols, simple tools, honest force. Teachers explained that humans had not been the strongest. They had been the most patient. Trade slowly returned to former council routes. But power was more balanced now. Decisions were debated. Smaller species had voices. No single authority ruled all. And that was how humans wanted it. In diplomatic meetings, humans spoke rarely, but when they did, others listened. Because everyone remembered what happened when humans were ignored. A former council scientist once summarized it best. We believed progress meant complexity, she said. Humans believed it meant reliability. That difference had changed the galaxy. Far beyond known space, human exploration ships traveled again, not warships, science vessels, survey crews. They mapped new stars, studied strange worlds, sent data home quietly. Human curiosity had always been stronger than their hunger for power. One day, in a rebuilt chamber, no longer called the Galactic Council, representatives from many species gathered. Humans were present, not at the center. Among them, a delegate asked the human ambassador, "Why did you stop?" The human thought for a moment. "Because fear is a tool," he said, "and tools should not be used forever." That answer spread. The galaxy adjusted. Years passed, then decades. The memory of the old council faded, but the lesson did not. No civilization laughed at another's weapons again. No one dismissed simple solutions too quickly. And no one forgot the day humans appeared from nowhere. Railguns are displayed in museums across multiple worlds now, not as relics of war, but as reminders. The plaque beneath one display read, asterisk, they were not outdated. They were honest, asterisk. Teleportation was studied cautiously by others. Some succeeded, some failed. Most decided the risk was too high. Humans understood that too. They had already paid the price. In the end, humanity did not conquer the galaxy. They changed it. They proved that being underestimated could be an advantage. That patience could be more dangerous than aggression. And that pride, once broken, could never be fully repaired. Far out in the dark between stars, a human exploration ship jumped forward, slowly, carefully, not by teleportation, by choice, because some tools were meant only for moments when everything else failed. The galaxy watched humanity closely now, not with fear, with respect, and that was enough. The day humanity shattered the Galactic Council's pride became the day the galaxy learned a new rule, asterisk, asterisk. Never mistake simplicity for weakness.